our next interview will be of not of the legislature, actually, not of the legislature. He will be representing the educational board. That's up next. His name is Lawrence J. Alcairo. I hear he's a Filipino. We'll talk to him next. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. More of Plataporma 2020 will return.
KB. Nobody does it better. Music. KTB. 101.9.
Howdy, folks. I'm Colonel Sanders from KFC. Allow me to introduce my new KFC hot wing flavors. I'm getting very, very hungry.
Buffalo and honey barbecue.
Am I dreaming? Nope, not dreaming. That's a bunch of new KFC hot wings. Try them yourself in my KFC hot wing deal with fries and a drink, or share them with the family in an 18 or 30-piece swing bucket. KFC, it's buffalo and honey barbecue finger licking good.
Get a Pepsi 12-pack for only $3.49 when you fuel up on $35 or more of premium high-performance fuel. Conditions apply. See store for details. Circle K. Take it easy.
When you want to make the most of your time, waiting in line should be last on your mind. Introducing Skip Lino, the most convenient way to visit Docomo Pacific. Simply download the Skip Lino app on your device, set your region to Guam or Northern Mariana Islands, find Docomo Pacific, and select the location you'd like to visit. Spend less time in line and more time with the people who matter most with the Skip Lino app. Can't wait to see you soon. Docomo Pacific, better together.
Our team here at Disoni's hope that you, your loved ones, and your colleagues are safe and well during these times of uncertainty. Our stores and warehouses will remain open so that we may continue to cool your homes and bring comfort in the best way we can. However, we would like to remind you that we are practicing proper methods such as social distancing from one another of at least 6 feet apart, and will be requiring you to use a face mask before going into our store or warehouse. Don't worry, our staff is trained and will be disinfecting the areas of operation after every customer. At Disoni's, we pride ourselves in giving our customers the best deals and customer service here in Guam. But our #1 priority will always be your safety. Call Disoni's and set up an appointment at 647-3736. Disoni's, your one-stop aircon shop.
The Groovy Crew. MEGAMIXX 101.9 FM.
All right, welcome back to the program, everybody. Before we continue on with the interview, I want to just quickly thank our sponsors for tonight's segment and tonight's program. Of course, Disoni's, your one-stop aircon shop where staying cool is now affordable. Huge discounts are happening there now. If you're looking to cool your homes during this pandemic and maybe your aircon's not working, they've got a great deal there. 2 12K BTUs for a low price of $749. That's for 2, plus installation, plus a free water dispenser or a free TV or a free chest freezer, plus 1-year warranty. I'm just going to keep on plussing this, right? But the good thing about it, it's $749 after their $400 GPA rebates. So not only do they give you the deals, they make it an easier pandemic for you. You know what I mean? Because we all are having a hard time. I know taxes are out. I know they put out the taxes. And people are going to get the refund soon and all that stuff. But it's good to at least get something worth not so expensive that it usually. Remember the days when aircon was like $1,000 each? Split types was like $1,000 each. It was like if you growing up. Here in Guam, and I was always with the window type ACs, and everyone with those split types would be like, man, you must be rich, because I got one of those lawnmowers in my wall, you know? Nowadays they make it so cheap. So thank you very much, Disoni's. Thank you also to Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort, and they're awesome. They've got good food there, by the way. They have really good food. Bento boxes on sale. Check them out, all right? 646-2222. All right, up next, I'm excited for this one. This is the first time I'm ever going to have an educational board come on the show for Plataporma 2020. And of course, like I said, if it requires everybody's votes, you want to hear about what they have to offer. And that's why we're here. We want to put as much of our candidates out here as much as possible para at least ma-educate tayo kung sino iboboto natin. All right. So good evening to you guys and welcome our next guest into our segment. I hear he's Filipino. I hear he's Filipino as well. So his name is Lawrence J. Alcairo. Good evening to you, sir. Magandang gabi sa'yo. How are you doing?
Good. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat as well.
Wow. What does an educational board do? That's my first question, really. Like, I vote for it every year. I'm glad you're on because sometimes I just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? Because I don't know. Because I don't know how it goes sometimes, right? I know it's education, it's important, but there has to be some that at least we should vote for. And why should we vote for you, sir?
Sure. So the Guam Education Board actually oversees the Guam Department of Education. We oversee the Superintendent of Education and select the superintendent. We also implement policies that are implemented at the various schools around the island, the public schools. And personally, I'm running because I want to ensure that we have safe and efficient schools, proper spending priorities, and student and youth representation on the Guam Education Board as well. Because so many of my peers, cousins, nieces, nephews, and other family members both work and go to school at GDOE.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. I mean, it's important. Education, I think, is, if not is one of the most important things that we should all talk about. We should talk about this because, again, without education, we won't have a future. Lawrence, well, let's talk about you real quick. Alcairo, where's that from in the Philippines?
Okay, so my dad is actually Visayan. It's actually Alcairo.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What is it?
No problem.
Alcairo?
Yeah, Alcairo. So
Okay,
you switch
Alcairo.
the I and the R.
Oh,
But,
okay. Alcairo.
Yeah.
Got it.
But on Guam, and when my dad was in the Marine Corps, they couldn't really pronounce that, so it's kind of been Americanized to Alcairo.
Okay.
So that's what how I usually pronounce it. But my dad is from Visayas. He moved here in the mid 80s, but my grandfather my great grandfather actually moved to Guam with Cam Rojas in 1950. So I am a fourth generation Filipino Guamanian. Well, my mom also moved here to in the 80s her dad was a contractor on Guam and she came from Pampanga. So although I'm a fourth generation Filipino Guamanian, my parents both weren't born here. So I'm also a first generation Filipino American.
Wow. Interesting. We're probably on the same area, same boat. You were recently appointed to the educational board, and now you're running for a full term. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Full term. You're running for a full term. In your short term, or your short time on within there, what did you do and what did you bring to the table for the educational board?
So, I've only been confirmed as a member in the past month. So I've been to a couple meetings, 3 meetings actually. One of the first things that we discussed was the curriculum adjustments because grading in the first quarter when everyone was still adjusting was kind of difficult. It's hard to assess percentage grades. And so we implemented a new system just for the first quarter. And we also addressed some of the financial challenges that were presented by a third body known as the Educational Financial Supervisory Committee. Basically, it's a bunch of the budget agencies that look over the finances of DOE. So with that regard, my special project right now is working on lifting the EFSC as we transition
What's
away.
the EFSC?
Educational Financial Supervisory Committee.
Ah.
So they kind of oversee DOE's finances, but that was only recently put in 2010 because of the dire financial situation that DOE was in. But now that DOE is transitioning away from high-risk federal status, we're looking to lift it and hopefully gain some more autonomy with how DOE is run. So that's my special project. Okay. I'm the legislative liaison for the board to the legislature because I've worked in the legislature before. And I also am the co-advisor for the Island-wide Board of Governing Students because I was also on that board as well.
Why did you choose this as your area of expertise? What made you want to get into this?
So it's actually, I don't want to say that education is my area of expertise. I'm actually not an educator per se.
I was going to ask that next. Were you an educator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually a student. I'm working on my second bachelor's at the University of Guam under chemistry.
Oh, wow.
And actually, I've lived this transition to distance learning. And I've also always wanted to serve the island in a different capacity as well. When I was speaker of the 30th Guam Youth Congress, one of the issues that came to our attention was that GDOE board at the time canceled the Mes Chamorro celebration, which is typically a fiesta, barbecue at the schools, abruptly. And so if you look in the internet, one of the things that comes up is when you look up my name as a Speaker of Youth Congress is that tussle that we had between the Youth Congress and the board to reinstate Mes Chamorro. And that's when I realized that, the youth do need a voice. The regular age to run is 25. And so I could have run last time, but I didn't want to just run for the sake of running.
Yeah.
Now that I have executive experience, having worked in the Guam State Clearinghouse, which is under the Office of Lieutenant Governor, I feel that I have more experience, both legislative and executive, to really hammer home the things that GDOE needs when we're negotiating with our counterparts in the legislature.
I see. Yeah. Speaking of distance learning, you mentioned it just a while ago. There's a lot of challenges. A lot of people are having to get used to this new norm of getting educated. Can you ensure maybe? What do you think about? This is our source of educating. Is it working? That's basically my question. Do you think it's working? Are we educating our kids, or are parents just getting smarter and smarter because they're doing all the work?
Nothing is going to ever replace face-to-face interaction, both in school and in professional environments. I would prefer to do this interview with you face-to-face.
Yes.
But
I'd love
definitely
that too.
have to make those. Yeah. But we have to make those sacrifices. And, as the students adapt, the teachers are finding ways to evaluate them and say whether or not they are learning. So I think that it is moving along, definitely. There's also, teachers have been doing this for years. So it becomes apparent when they know the students aren't necessarily doing the work and they have ways to address that with the parents. Parent-teacher conferences.
Well, what are their ways?
Week, so.
Yeah, what are their ways to address that? Because I hope they address it to me because... I'll tell you for sure. I know the entire planetary system all over again. I actually know that pretty well now, and the structures of government and stuff. Anyways, go ahead. So basically, the distance learning, like I said, it's a new norm. We're trying to get used to this. It's better than nothing, I say, in my kind of thing. I mean, I'd rather have him learn something than stay and play, Fortnite all night long. At least there's still something going on in terms of education. But is there plans for at least, do you think there's a chance that we can get back into the classroom in spite of this pandemic anytime soon?
So right now, the superintendent has decided and the board has concurred that at the earliest, it'll be January 2021. And so tomorrow, actually, the school safety committee of the board is going to be meeting with the superintendent and his team, and we're going to be discussing the plans to move forward. Back in August, the department was actually already prepared to open. We had supplies in place, we had plans in place, we had the three models of learning, face-to-face, hard copy, and online in place. But because of the spike in cases, unfortunately, we have to adhere to the safest option. But if we get our cases back to where they were around early August, when we hit January, hopefully we'll be able to hit face-to-face again. And I mean, there's also talking about vaccines already. So we'll see, right? But safety is always going to be the priority of both the students and the teachers.
I see. But what are your thoughts, though, also in regards to like vocational training? I'm a big fan of people who do vocational training and vocational education in high school, and the opportunities for students to go to that apprenticeship route, such as construction, computer tech, or healthcare, rather than them going to college. What is your preferred? Basically, what are your thoughts about this?
I think that the department has a mission to prepare students for the real world, whether it's career or college. And I think that they are doing a good job on both sides, because DOE has produced doctors. They've also produced some great businessmen in the community, businesswomen, and they've also pursued those trades in partnership with GCC. So they are making those strides. And of course, the face-to-face limits that. But I do also want to beef up the science curriculum by focusing on more local curriculum, like incorporating community gardening, for example. One of the areas that I want to see maybe partner instead of GCC with UOG in terms of vocational is the agriculture, aquaculture aspect and fishing aspect that we actually can take advantage of on Guam. The agriculture school at UOG, which I'm familiar with because of my science education there, they do cooperative extension services to the public where they teach them how to farm, how to harvest, how to do those things that you would need to survive without having to go to the grocery store. And unfortunately, I think there's not enough farmers on Guam because we're not focusing on that. Instead of we're trying to buy all of our produce and foods. But if we can start incorporating more local science curriculum into the classroom.
Have the kids kind of plant eggplant in the backyard. Oh, I'd love it.
Eggplant, cherry tomato.
I'd love my son to start planting. If that day ever happens, sir, I will go back to you and say, hey man, it worked out. If I can see him go out in the sun and plant that eggplant, oh yeah. But I see what you mean, right? And I think it's very important. During the pandemic, me as an individual, as a guy just going through it, the same pandemic situation as everybody else, I decided to learn how to plant. During, was it March, April time where, I was like, I do not want to go out. I want to start at least do some self-sustaining farming, at least for the easy gulay, or eggplants, the okra, those things grow like crazy. And I thought, you know what if we can just live off of this? I mean, that would be a great idea. And I think it would be an awesome idea if this was injected into the system for our kids to know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those vegetables that are a little bit lower hanging fruit, right? I mean, we grow avocado all over this island. We don't have to buy it at the store. We grow mangoes. One of my favorite dishes that my Lala always makes is alugbati with ground beef. Ooh. And it's just growing all over the house. So we just pick it.
Yeah, I love that.
Throw it in the pot.
You got the malunggay going. Yeah. You got the malunggay. Easy to put some tinola, killed chicken in the yard that roaming. There are a lot of chickens, by the way, roaming around Guam now. So anyways, there are great stuff that I'm pretty sure you have ideas for, but is this part of the role as an educational board member to impose? Can you make that happen? Can you, as the educational board full-term member, you able to be part of that change?
Yeah, as an individual, we don't make those decisions, but as a board, we basically oversee the superintendent.
I see.
So he oversees the deputy superintendents of curriculum, of finance. And so we do have this say, and we also do directly communicate with the deputies and sometimes even the employees that they supervise when necessary, because we are, as board members, in order to make those decisions, we need to have information. But again, we don't make those decisions unilaterally by ourselves. It takes a board.
How many
whether
of you
it's
guys?
a 5 4. So there's 9 members on the board. 3 of them are appointed by the governor in staggered terms of 3 years, and 6 of them are elected every 2 years.
And you're part of that. So how many are running right now?
So there are 10 candidates running for the 6 positions.
Okay, 10 candidates running for the 6 positions. And then only how many can make it in?
6.
6. Okay, yes, sorry. Yeah. See, I just now know like how this whole thing works. Just telling the truth, I always see it on my ballot every time I vote.
No, and I understand that because
I always see
a lot of people do that.
I don't know anybody. I would go in there like, all right, let me see here. Who has, I don't know anybody. So I'll just go ahead and
Well,
probably
2 years ago, there were 6 seats, right? And only 4 people ran, so they automatically won.
Okay.
And 2 years before that, in 2016, there were 6 seats and 6 people ran. So again, they all automatically won. 6 years ago was when there was 9 candidates. That was the most robust election since then. But over the years, the interest, for whatever reason, has fallen off. And one of the reasons why I'm running is to bring attention back to the board, but also to bring the attention of how the board impacts our youth and the future of our island.
I see. Okay. What about charter schools? What are they? I've always heard about charter schools. I never really knew what they were, or what is a charter school basically? Just to kind of give me knowledge about.
So a charter school it's kind of its own entity, but they are funded by GovGuam monies. In order for a charter school to start up, though, they have to be approved by the Guam Charter School Board. So we can't just pop one up just because they do rely on public money. But they are specialized schools that are approved because their charter focuses on something that's supposedly unique or different. And so we have like SIFA, which is one of the charter schools, and then I think they opened up a new one recently that focuses more on like region-centric education, which is actually what I want to implement at DOE. And then of course the iLearn and the Guahan Academy, which were the ones that are the longest. Lots
standing. Of bright students, though. I do see a lot of bright students coming from those schools, winning just, they're winning math counts, they're winning math Olympiads. Very, very smart kids there. But what is it? Why can't the government make their own, schools instead of a charter school? What's the difference?
I mean, the charter schools, they have a very specific focus. It's only for that school. So the SIFA charter would be different from the iLearn charter, which would be different from the Guahan Academy charter. The DOE curriculum is, pretty broad-reaching, I would say. Not to say that it's inefficient by any means, but it was just, I'd have to personally look into the history more. I know that it was recently started, but again, DOE is really focused on the public schools, and that's really what I've tried to make my focus. And so I'm not too familiar with the charter schools.
But the superintendent covers the charter schools as well. Am I correct? That's part of his.
The superintendent does not.
Oh, it does not.
He does not oversee.
Oh, okay. Does not oversee it. I see.
But their budget does come from the monies that should go to the GDOE budget.
So shouldn't that be something that the government should also have oversight of, at least it's their money.
Has
okay.
Yeah. So GDOE, what's also something that a lot of people don't understand, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, is GDOE is both the state education agency as well as the district. So in the states, they usually have multiple districts, right? So California would have the California Board of Education, but they would have Northern California District, Central, and I'm sure more than just Northern, because Northern's huge. But because Guam is so small, the Department of Education is both the state education agency as well as the district. So there is an obligation of the state education agency to also serve both the private schools and the charter schools in some regard. So with the charter schools, because they use government funds, I believe that the GDOE accounting office or auditing office does audit their finances and ensures that they are in fact using them for educational purposes and not misusing them.
I see. Hey, all right, we're going to end soon. I'm going to give you the floor. A couple more questions, though, Lawrence. Do we call you Lawrence? Do we call you Jay? You know how Filipinos, we're always going to go with the shorter name. Jay, hey, Jay, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Not used to it.
But anyways, if you look at education or DOE or GDOE, you look from the outside in, what is its weakness and where can those, and when and where could those weaknesses change? How can you make that change?
So probably one of the biggest issues that GDOE is currently facing is the budget being cut by, I believe, $30 million over the last 2 years. You know, normally budgets are maintained or they go up by a little bit, but because the budget has been cut, it's forced the department to face a lot of financial strain. And so the biggest thing that I think we can do with regards to that is finding ways to save money, which is what I want to do with my proper spending priorities. So I want to, every year we pay millions of dollars to a third party to manage our federal funds because of the high-risk status that was implemented on DOE by US DOE since 2003. So it's been 17 years that we've been in the high-risk status, and for half that time we've been paying someone to oversee our federal funds. I also want to invest money in renewable energy because all of our schools, they make up the biggest footprint of GovGuam buildings. So if we can convert all of our schools to renewable energy, I think it'll save a lot of money. And lastly, I also want to save money on textbooks and other educational resources by exploring the option of sourcing them locally. So, for example, GDOE just started a program with the University of Guam where they're producing social studies books locally so that we can focus more on Guam in the region, more on Guam history, rather than buying social studies books from the States and learning about them. So if we could do that with the science curriculum as well, which I believe that we can learn more about the island's geography, we can learn more about the island's science in terms of agriculture, and we can do things like incorporate agriculture, aquaculture into the curriculum.
I see. I notice how you like to bring a lot of local into your curriculum or whatever, your platform. Well, what is your preferred future political status for Guam if there were to be a vote for it, self-determination? What would you choose, Jay?
Well, I have not personally thought about it too much, only because I am, I'm not sure if you're in the same boat.
Well, yeah.
But we're not eligible to vote in the plebiscite. But I would just say free association at this time, mostly because I think it's the most familiar to what we are with right now, maybe. I think that independence and statehood are a little bit more different from what we are in now. So I definitely need more education on the topic, and I think that we need to educate our students more on the topic too. So when the time comes, and I think the time should come, where Guam does decide its political status, they'll be able to make a more informed decision.
I see. Yeah, I agree. Maybe we all have to learn a little thing or two about this certain thing. All right, so I'm going to give you the floor. Invite everybody again to vote for you. And when is it? November? Can they vote for you already on the drive-through polls? That's something they can already start doing. Okay,
you can definitely vote early.
I have not voted yet, so I plan to do it on November the 3rd. So go ahead, all yours, sir.
Okay. So again, my name is Lawrence J. Alcairo. I'm a former representative to Island-wide Board of Governing Students, a former speaker of the 30th Guam Youth Congress. I've worked in the legislature, most recently under Vice Speaker Nelson, who has oversight over education. Now I'm a grant specialist overseeing hundreds of millions in federal funds for health, education, public safety areas. I'm running to ensure we have safe and efficient schools, proper spending priorities, and student and youth representation at GDOE for not just my peers, but also your peers, for your friends, for your family. I'm number 1 on the ballot. So I ask that if you are considering other people, please consider me as well. I'm number 1. Start off strong by marking off number 1 before you go down on the rest of the ballot. Mark off number 1 to make sure that everyone counts. Thank you.
Wow, well said. And you're number 1 on the ballot. That means if you guys were to go out to vote, you're on a separate ballot? Or are you
We're on the back.
On the back of the ballot. All right. Okay, got you. So again, number one on the ballot. Thank you so much to Lawrence J. And it's a pleasure to finally get to meet you. You know, I always see you on the road waving. Really appreciate that you are out there, you know, doing your thing. Because I really don't see other educational board guys doing this. Like, seriously, it looks like you're really in this to win it. You really want to make a change. You really want to make a difference. As you know, you mentioned a while ago, you're a student still at the same time, and you want to be part of this change in the educational board. So I really appreciate that, sir. So mabuhay kayo.
I'm putting my heart out there. I'm working hard because, you know, the people that I'm running against, they have so much more experience than I do and so much more years. But I think I have just the right amount of experience as well to make a difference. I'm only 27 years old. I'm running against people on average that are 55, 60. So, you know, they're twice my age, but I'm not letting that deter me. And I'm willing to work with them because they've encouraged me to run, actually. So I'm looking forward to it.
At 27 years old, I just learned how to put my spare tire on, really, believe it or not. And that was an achievement for me.
Sometimes I'm still learning. On the car.
I look in the hood and be like, yo. All right, anyway, thank you very much, Lawrence. You have a wonderful night. And best of luck. God bless.
Thank you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was our awesome. It's the first time I've ever done 3 interviews ever. So yeah, that was a handful for interviews for me today. So thank you very much to all of you guys for coming over, for joining me on the chat. Shout out to Mr. A, who's been watching my stream and making sure that the text on the stream does not fail. Thank you, bro, and of course to our guys here in studio. Also, if you see me wearing a mask on the actual interviews, it's because there's so many things that I've got to be doing, and that I have to require people to be in studio to help me out and monitor things as well. So there are some people in studio. That's why I wear a mask. But during OPM, I'll connoisseurs, I'm usually alone here. Everybody is outside. So, but this is different because it's a lot of work, you know, and it's serious work. So we want to make sure it's clear and good to go. I want to shout out to Joanne, who told me to do my peace sign. Right? Peace sign for you. Thank you, Joanne. Special shout out to you. Also, shout outs to everyone that went to the chat room. Thank you for joining me. Right now we have 58 viewers at the moment. So thank you very much to the 58 viewers. You guys want to give me a shout? Want me to give you a shout out? Let me know. I'll do it. Right? I'll do it. Meanwhile, don't forget, this show probably brought to you by Sony's, your one-stop aircon shop where staying cool is now affordable. The Sheraton Laguna Guam Resorts, and of course, Triple J Auto Group customers always come first. We weren't able to do the sports updates, but I do have the birthday this year. I want to read that for you guys in a few minutes. But remember, voting is happening every week. I don't know where it's going to be this Saturday. It was in Dedo last Saturday, but they're starting to vote to kind of not have a huge crowd on November the 3rd. But if you are going to vote on November the 3rd, make sure you know who you're voting for, all right? Don't go out there and say that I'm going to vote for him because he shook my hand, or I'm going to vote for him because he smells good, or she smells good, or I like the color of dress she's wearing, or you know what I mean? I think change happens when we change ourselves and we change the way we vote. We have to be more educated in our votes, and I think that's what's going to help us move forward in the years to come. I see my child growing up. He's now 13 years old. Every year, or every time there's an election, I'm always out there making my vote happen. Not just for me, but for him and for everybody else. So yeah, go out there, register to vote, register to make a change. Again, thank you. Our first guest, Kadina, was Chris Carrillo, and second was, for the Republican Party, Joanne Brown, and of course, Educational Board, Lawrence J. Alcairo. Did I say anything correct? Alcairo.